Everybody here, thank you for coming today. My name is Dr. Brian Ansu. I'm Mercer County Republican Chairman and also District 2 Mercer County Board candidate. What we want to talk to you today is a Republican pledge to Mercer County citizens. In order to have correct solutions to a problem, you have to identify the problem. And this is what the Mercer County Board candidates have done. We looked at the shape that Mercer County is in, broke down each problem and addressed it in our pledge. If the Mercer County Republicans are elected to control the board, our pledge is to follow this pledge in order to try to improve Mercer County. What we want to do is balance the budget. We want to relieve the taxpayer, upgrade the county board operations, serve the people of Mercer County, make Mercer County prosperous. We want to implement full transparency of the county government, manage the jail obligations, and empower the people. And what we want to do, each one of the candidates will discuss one or two of these items. But before we start, I'm going to have Ted Pappas, our finance chairman, to discuss a little bit of the vital statistics about Mercer County and how this plan will implement it. So, Ted?
Brian, thank you. I appreciate all those that are here today. Thank you for coming out and being part of this very important information. I think we all heard today news that none of us like to hear, but in Sherrard, the school district where I live, our attendance, our enrollment is down 70 kids. That's not good. And I'm very concerned about that type of reduction. In front of you, in your handout, since 1992, and this is from the IRS tax migration website, Mercer County has lost 1,784 people. We have dropped significantly during that period of time from 1985 to 2011. Let me put that into dollars on an annualized basis. What that means is that annually $7 million is out, not in Mercer County anymore. That $7 million could be spent on buying homes, it could be spent on going to Walmart, it could be spent on food, it could be spent on a number of things, but because of the fact that we have lost these folks, that money is not being spent with local vendors, and I think that is a huge concern. We believe that the agenda that we're going to talk about this evening can help stem this tide and actually turn it around. We believe that this agenda that we're going to talk about is proactive, it's exciting, we are convinced that it's bold, but let's not lose sight of the fact that we need a bold agenda. We need a bold agenda. We need bold ideas. We need ideas that will leapfrog Mercer County. We don't want to be a county that keeps losing people. We want to be a county that starts attracting people and gaining population. So, over the next few minutes, if you could just give us, humor us, and allow us to go through our agenda and cover our points. We promise to keep your time to a minimum. Again, I appreciate immensely you coming out. I want to say one last thing. I live in Mercer County, but I work in Rock Island County. Many of you know that I'm a businessman in Rock Island County. And I've been very concerned about what has been happening in Rock Island County. And I finally think that Rock Island County is starting to take positive steps to fix some of the problems that they themselves have. And quite frankly, we need to also take positive steps. We need to take bold steps. So now we're going to go right down through this agenda. We're going to have each of our county board members or countywide candidates come and talk about each of these items just for a few minutes and what it means. Again, thank you. So with that, we'll go right over to Mark Berry. Mark is going to cover number 1, and then we'll go right down the agenda.
Good. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, everyone, for coming out. Once again, making my first bid to go into this political arena. It was something I kind of kicked around back and forth, talked about the reasons I should, shouldn't, and here I am in front of you. Ted kind of talked about what's happening to the population, what we're seeing happening going forward. And we not only need to work on this budget for next year, we need to figure out a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plan based on what these census numbers are telling us.
Sure.
We're a long ways from just settling next year's problem. As we run our business out there, we've been through many highs and lows. We're running some right now with the ag cycle. That happens to any business, that can happen to any household, anyone that's dealing with money. That there's a very simple point. Here's how much is coming in, here's how much is going out. You have to control those. Real simple math. The future and the things that Ted's talking about with his population and the changes, we've been very fortunate at the Mercer County School District to actually see some growth. That's a positive sign. We're going to have to make sure that happens up in that end of the district too. We have a lot of work going forward to not only manage that budget today, but definitely the 3, 5, and 10-year plan. It is imperative to not lay all of that back on the taxpayers of Mercer County. We have to stop that somewhere. We've got to have a plan to fix this budget hole.
Mark, thank you. Appreciate it. Relieve the taxpayer. Until this year, it has been customary that the county portion of the property taxes was increased consistently 4.99%. And the reason why that number is important is because if you stayed below 5, you did not have to have a truth in taxation hearing. In 2014, for the first time in many years, that portion of the tax calculation did not go up. I am on the budget committee along with others, Jeff McWhorter and Laurie Stone, and I said no. Our pledge as we go forward is to relieve the taxpayer. Our taxes are too high in Mercer County. They are way too high. And if we can bring down taxes, that will encourage businesses and individuals to move. A lot of times you hear, why didn't you move to Mercer County? Well, it's kind of simple. The taxes are too high. So we need a plan to bring down the taxes. And one of the ways is to say, no, we're not going to have an increase every year. We're going to stop that. And if anything, we're going to try to reduce the burden. Taxpayers are paying enough federally, they're paying enough at the state, and they're paying enough at the local levels. So we're going to relieve the taxpayer burden. We're going to do everything we can to hold the line and reduce taxes, not automatically increase taxes. That's been the mantra. Increase taxes and don't deal with spending cuts. We're going to deal with spending cuts, freeze taxes, and reduce them. Now we're going to have the next item, number 3, and we're going to have Joe Van come and speak.
Thank you, Ted. I'm Joe Van. I'm candidate for County Board from District 4, which covers 5 full townships in the western part of the county. We can upgrade the board's operation with a trained county administrator. Sounds like an expense. Not really. We can attract a young man or woman who just got their degree in public administration, looking to get their teeth in. They're going to do the hard job because they need to get their creds. What would a county administrator do? Streamline most of the county operations. He would be in charge of all the county departments which do not have an elected head, taking the decisions out of the political arena and putting them in an administrative thing. He also are very proficient at grant writing and requesting, getting the funds that are available for our roads and other services back. The position could possibly pay for itself and not cost us a dime.
Statistically, good administrators will pay for themselves 5 to 6 times over the first year. Being an administrator, I understand those challenges, but I've always seen that to be true. Good administrators will do great things. Fred Ruth is going to come and talk about serving the people.
I'm Fred Ruth. I'm on the Mercer County Board from District 4. I'd like to serve the people. Our singular commitment to faithfully serve the people of Mercer County in lieu of any statutory requirements regarding compensation for meetings and mileage. Republican board members pledge to forego all compensation until at such time as the budget is the real surplus. Thank you very much.
So what Fred is saying is, we're going to work for free. We believe that until we get our house in order, we'll work for free. We don't want paid. We don't want mileage. We don't want meeting reimbursements. We're saying to the people, you've elected us to do a job, and until we do it right and this county's prospering, we're going to work for free. Brian's going to come and talk about how we're going to prosper Mercer County.
Thanks, Ted. Yeah, and it should be known that the Republicans right now that are on the board have not taken any compensation for the stipend that we get for board meetings and or reimbursement for mileage. So we're trying to do our effort right now. What we want to do, number 5, and regarding a prosperous Mercer County. As Ted told you, we've lost 1,700 citizens from 1895 or 1985 to 2012. If you take that in reality, that's New Windsor and Viola combined gone out of Mercer County. That is a lot. In order for people to stay here, to either retain our children, and I don't know how many people I know, their children graduate from high school, they go to college, and they're gone. Not only we have to try to give them something to come back to, we also need to draw new people in. My parents moved to New Windsor in the 50s. Why? Because it was cheap. Even though it was a 25-mile drive to John Deere Harvest where my dad worked, it was worth that drive to have peace and quiet. We have a good place here. We have to have an economic environment that will stimulate jobs, something like Gentle Tool and Grind, something that will bring people here. For every job produced here, a family moves in, there's more spendable income, it brings more jobs. We need to implement full transparency at the county level. Mercer County has been notoriously known as at the bottom of the stack for transparency in the state of Illinois. That has got to change. If there is no transparency, the citizens don't know what's going on, and that can lead to bad things that we've learned. We want to have everything available to the citizens at a click of the button on the internet. Look at budget, look at the county checkbook, look at who's being paid what, where that money is going to. It's important that you have trust among the citizens that are in this county paying these property taxes. So that's what we're going to do with these two issues. Now, George will address the issue with the...
George, if you can just hold for a second. I want to come back to number 5 just for a second, Brian, if I'm
Sure.
ready. When we say prosper, what we need to do is create an environment of tax abatement. Give the incentive for businesses to come. The state of New York says you don't have to pay taxes for 10 years if you come to New York. The same should be true to Mercer County. Let's get business back here. Let's get them interested in coming. And if you create the financial incentives, businesses will come. Trust me, I get financial incentives at Friendship Manor. I work with the city and they work very hard. Sometimes the definition of a project going forward and not going forward may be what the city fathers bring to the table to stimulate jobs and economic growth. So I know firsthand that this type of stimulus works, and we need to implement that as a county board to make ourselves attractive. Put up a big sign and say, we're open for business in Mercer County. Come here. You will be treated right. We will now have George come and talk about managing the jail obligations. Thanks, Mr.
As most of you have already seen the pledge, you have a copy of it. We'll go over here just real quick. Manage the jail obligations. The jail expansion has become one of the most county's primary concerns. And so the very recently established management policy must be maintained in order to protect the people of Mercer County from becoming burdened by the obligation. Now, I don't know how many of you know exactly what that policy is, so I'm going to read that to you real quick. I don't know. Has anybody seen that? Should the direct revenue of $839,000 for 40 outside prisoners, 20 of whom will be Cook County prisoners and 20 U.S. Marshal Service prisoners for the jail, drop below the direct expense for the jail for housing prisoners from other jurisdictions, such as salaries for 4 jailers, benefits for 4 jailers, i.e. health insurance, IMRF, uniforms, food, medical transportation, utilities, and such, and principal and interest payments for the 2014 refinance schedule, the sheriff will be directed by the county board to cut the jail expense budget to the level of revenue received from the prior year, while adhering to applicable state and federal laws and applicable county employment policies. This policy will be based on an accrual basis, which will be from 12/1/2013 to 11/30/2014. This policy will be reviewed annually and will cut the department's budget as needed. Okay? So basically what we're saying by that policy is the jail expansion part of the jail must be self-supportive. And that is only fair. It's only right. If we spent $6 or $7 million to build a jail expansion to house foreign prisoners and ask taxpayers to pay for it, that's just wrong. We built that because the architects of that program said not only would it be self-supportive, it would be a moneymaker. We've not seen that. Do we have money coming in from that? Yes, we do. Is it paying for itself? The answer is no. We're about $800,000 short on what that thing, the difference between what that thing has cost and what we've actually made on it. So taxpayers are already into that jail expansion for about $800,000. If you fill that thing at max capacity tomorrow, you still can't get that $800,000 back. It's gone. You've spent that already. Now, why did we spend the question you have to ask yourself as a taxpayer is, why would you spend $800,000 of your own money to house federal and Cook County inmates? That's the question you have to ask yourself. And so that is why this policy was put in place. There are expenses in that jail which only belong to housing federal prisoners. And taxpayers should not have to pay for that. That should be totally self-supported. And if the original architects of that policy were right, we would actually make a profit on it. So that's where we're at with the jail. And I have a plan to do that. I have a plan that I can't guarantee I can make the jail make money, but I can keep the taxpayers, my plan will keep the taxpayers from paying for that jail. Guaranteed.
Thank you, George. In essence, what we're asking for is that we keep this policy. Right now, it's on an annual basis, and the next county board can change it. We want to keep it. We think it's good policy. It's good policy to hold government accountable, and we want to keep it. Our final topic is to empower the people. And to me, I think this is a great way to end. After Joe is done, I will have a few closing remarks and then answer any questions, or we will try to answer any questions that you have.
As Republicans, we pledge to give the people of Mercer County the final say on whether they want to borrow a large amount of money to build large projects. Put it to the vote. Our Public Building Commission, the idea for the Public Building Commission was started in 1955. Because people just plain wouldn't vote to do things do necessary things that were required. Well, our Public Building Commission was formed in 1985 for a single purpose, that we maintain a jail that met state standards. In '93, the Public Building Commission Act was changed, requiring any change in their commission or function to go to a vote of the people. It never has. Right now, for the last several years, the Public Building Commission has been used as an excuse to avoid ever putting anything before the people for a vote, including the jail expansion, courthouse repairs, maintenance, who gets the contracts. That's all decided by an appointed commission that meets 4 times a year. We would go for a referendum being put before the people to dissolve the Public Building Commission, so that such matters will always be in the hands of the tax-paying citizens.
Joe, thank you. In other words, it's your taxes, you know best how to spend it, not bureaucrats. So, we've laid out our pledge, we've gone over some statistics. We believe this is an agenda for prosperity and responsible government. You have our pledge that if we get the majority, we will stick to this and we will implement it with the voters' support every way through. We believe in small government and that the voters have a say in every part of what we do. We're proud of this agenda. We believe that it will bring prosperity to the citizens of Mercer County, to the businesses of Mercer County, and to the children of Mercer County. We want to keep our schools strong as much as we can. Now, we're here to answer any questions that you may have. Again, thank you for coming.